Hello, comic book community. This is
Hello.
NammaN, and there's K-pop up there. She's gonna lead the show. So K-pop,
Hey
let's
guys.
go.
All right. Hello to everyone that is finally joining us. We have here with the lovely Sean Chen. Woo! Whoa. Uh, Legend in your own right. You've been in the business for a while. It has been an absolute joy getting to know you and Bernard over the years. I've had so much fun with you guys. You tell the best stories of all time, and I adore both of you. But how are you today? How are you?
I'm doing fine. I mean, it's super hot here, so I'm just trying to stay cool and trying to it becomes difficult to work because of humidity, which is kind of strange because the paper absorbs moisture and it becomes hard to draw. So they end up just doom scrolling on Instagram and stuff like that instead of working.
It happens. It happens. I do that a lot, especially when I'm trying to draw. Let's see. Oh, we got a couple people in chat. Let's say hey real quick. We got GT Key. What is up, GT Key? Comic Journey coming in. Are we starting already? Yes, we are. And he apparently knows you. Yes, you do know him.
Oh,
We got
he does?
Agu.
okay.
Yeah. He did CGC stuff at Baltimore, so you probably ran into him at there.
Okay.
Yeah. And all the way from your chat, we got World of Wildstorm. What is up, Wildstorm? How are you?
Oh, is that Wildstorm? There's that, what's his name, SKG or something?
That one. Yeah,
Same
that's
guy. Okay.
same guy. Yes.
Very cool.
Which you probably also ran into at Baltimore, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Joe? Oh my God, Lorena. What's up, Lorena? And we got Frog Brawler. What's up? Yeah, we'll have people popping in and out. I've been feeling a lot of the other. Yeah, there it is. CCG, the collectible card game, is what it's for. Yes. Yes, there we go. But yeah, so he's from your chat. We have that. But those are our peeps for now. We got more people popping in here. I have a feeling we're gonna have a lot of the Twitch crew popping in.
Awesome.
I know that's gonna be fun. That'll be a riot. They get really good. So, in case the people that are joining us don't know who you are, would you like to give a little introduction to yourself of who you are as an artist?
I'm Sean Chen. 30 years in this crazy business. Drawing comics mostly. Started out at Valiant Comics in the very early days. I did Ryan the Future Force and Exo Man of War, Bloodshot for them. But the whole time I was there for like 4 years, I had my eye on breaking into Marvel because that was sort of like the big companies. That was my goal. So when the storyline for Heroes Return, which is, I think, if people don't know, like at one point Marvel was doing so badly that they kind of leased their characters out to Image. So Image took over and did those comics, pretty badly, I guess, for the most part. And then when they came back to Marvel, that was when I was brought on board, probably because of my time on Exo Man of War. And it was kind of like a very simple leap from the blue and gold flying armored guy to the red and gold armored flying guy. So I did that book for 3 years, and that's probably what I'm most known for is Iron Man from 1990, like mid 90s, I think. And then after that, I did some Wolverine comics, and for 2 years, and then some Avengers, some Elektra, a little bit of everything at Marvel, and then did a little bit for DC as well, some Batman Beyond and Green Lantern and Teen Titans. And then I guess that pretty much covers my time in the big two. So these days, there was a brief stint where I left comics and did advertising, mostly because it paid better and required less drawing skills. But now I'm doing my own comic called Evermind for 24/7 Comics. So it's independent, and that's the project I'm doing now.
It's a lovely project. I've had the pleasure of reading it. When I had you back on for the Kickstarter when we were launching that, and I adore the art in there. I adore the story. The coloring in there is fantastic. I know they had a chance to read the PDFs as well, and they really liked it.
But let me just say that really does mean a whole lot to me because I've been drawing for a long time, like I said, 30 years, and I kind of know just from the feedback, like my level of ability there. I know where I stand there, and I'm pretty that I can take care of that. But the writing thing is completely new. So this is my first writing. And usually that's pretty bad for a lot of people, but I spent a lot of time, worked very hard on it, and did my due diligence. And it's been like a couple years now since that book has been in the works. So it's finally out pretty much like this week. So this is like the first time feedback's coming in. And I'm prepared for any type of feedback. And I'm prepared for the worst because it's really hard to gauge where you are. So to hear that people liked it or enjoyed it, I mean, the 3 of you said you like, not just because we're friends, but, but it seems like you're being earnest about that. So that might be something that most writers would say, oh, thanks. But to me, it's a tremendous relief. So it means the world to me. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're totally welcome. Because even your journey before Kickstarter was even launched, just seeing some of the art that you were posting on there, I was super intrigued by all like the robotic and the cyber stuff that you were doing. And I was like, what are you doing? I need to figure out what this is all about, because it is a fantastic journey. There's like so much that happens along the story. But
yeah, it does kind of go all over the place. Like usually that's a red flag. Like if someone is doing a story and it seems to cover like different genres with different, like in a movie, you usually wouldn't have like robots and military and theme park and like like a strip club all in one story, because it usually means that the writer is kind of schizophrenic, or it's very typical for someone to just kind of put everything they know into a story and there's no connective thread. But I hope when you read it, you can see that there's a through line and there's a reason for all of those different locations. When I was putting them up on Instagram, I think a lot of people saw it. It's like, what the hell kind of story are you coming up with? Because it does go kind of all over the place. But trust me, when you read it, there's a through line and there's a reason for all those things being there.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start that once we can get back to that. But I want to say real quick, one of the homies from the Twitch chat, we got Kevin P. West in the house saying, hello, Sugar Sean. What's up? Yes.
Yeah, this is strange because I don't usually show my face. So
this is true.
Yeah.
Yes. So people are wondering what we're actually talking about on the stream. So Bernard Chang, who will be our guest tomorrow, has a stream on Twitch and on YouTube, but the most of the streaming is done, like the chat on Twitch. And you, Jerry Ma, Courtney, and a couple other guys all hop on there every week, and he'll be doing sketches. Is Battle of the Sketches back, or is that still on hold for right now?
Oh, well, we're kind of just back from our long break, so we'll see what it's all about. But when you say it's about sketches, and I think that's being very generous. I think that's the idea, that it's an educational thing.
Yes.
But very quickly, it devolves into just a lot of fart jokes and just, so
I know
we're trying to increase the educational content of it. So
Good luck with that.
I think there will always be farts when Bernard's around, so that's not going to go anywhere. Hopefully
I've seen Bernard shows.
Oh yeah. So it's usually held every Tuesday, Twitch and YouTube. Sometimes he'll do like giveaways for original art, signed books, and things like that. But I want to say he does sketches for Battle of the Sketches. So if you guys don't know what that is, it is a monthly and weekly challenge. You'll have a theme for the whole month, and each week there's a different character. Then you post your art piece on Wednesdays. So Nam, if you're getting into art like myself, we should start doing them when they come back from the Battle of the Sketches. It's a great way. And then and you guys are so involved in everyone that does this, which is amazing, because you guys really retweet every single person that tags that on there. And it's a great chance for people to see art, find other people. And it's just been such a pleasure to see that grow from when you guys started it.
Yeah. Just as a tip, like if anyone, we will showcase anything that's drawn, and we're very lucky that people participate and there's a good group. But if you want to go further, if you want to take a deeper dive into just like learning, you can ask us for critiques about your drawing, or ask questions about your drawing and what we think could have been improved or what's working well. And we make that available to whoever, wants to chime up about that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very nice. So Nam, you would be really interested in that too, because they also have a Discord where you could post some art pieces and ask for everybody that's in there. They ask for tips or tricks or what to do to make it more dynamic and all that stuff. But I like when you guys do portfolio reviews, and you also do every now and then, like you'll do the pages, like you can make up the stories, and then you'll see what each person does, which I think is quite fantastic that you guys do that. Christian, I do not have the link to the Discord right now, but I could, if you want me to, I will post it down below when we're done. But I'll get to that a little bit, Christian. But yeah, no, it's been so much fun seeing that and just seeing the interaction with the chat and how Bernard and you guys go ahead and talk to everybody, even with the art, and which is amazing because you would think that these people in the industry would not be that friendly to be just random people.
Well, you know, I think one of the reasons why we can have a relationship with everyone there is because there's not that many people there. I mean, honestly, if we had thousands of people, I wouldn't know who anyone is. But you know, sometimes the number of people who are on the stream outnumber the people who are watching. So.
Oh, that's good.
There's a lot of people that are lurking in there. Will go and watch the stream back because I like that you guys have put that on YouTube now so that they're always on there. You can go and check them out. So if you look up Bernard Chang's channel, you can go and find it on there. But I'm going to drop the link to the Twitch channel right now. Then I'm going to start dropping the links to some of your stuff on the YouTube and the 247 Comics. Cool. Let me drop this in here. Boom. There's that. So that is the Twitch channel that we're talking about where they go and actually stream, which he didn't have one this week because one, he had a birthday. Bernard had a birthday. They were out of town because you guys just got back from the Morocco.
Yeah, we were there for 10 days as a guest of the Minister of Culture, just to help, you know, bring comics and literacy over there. So that was a lot of fun, and it was, you know, we get the key to the city, and we get to experience a lot of the culture.
Wow.
And yeah, so the comics, it's one of the greatest parts. You know, the best part of comics is not how much you get paid, because you really don't get paid that much, but it's all the opportunities you get from it.
Definitely.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of you guys coming back, and he was taking troll pictures of you on the plane.
Yeah, I had this mysterious problem where half the time I fly, I become violently ill, and I have no idea what's causing it. So,
yeah, speak of the devil, there's Bernard. Yes. Kev is awesome. So Kev is in the California-based area, and he goes and does a lot of events for comics and artists and stuff. And he said he met you way back in '93 during the Extreme Tour days. Wow.
Okay, that must be like the the Deathmate tour, where we partnered with Image and did some tour along the West Coasts.
Yeah.
So the comics is a small community. So professionally, there's about 800 of us, and then the fan base is not, it's big, but it's not massive. So it is possible to know every single one of you. So.
Oh, he said, yeah, the Deathmate tour. Yes.
Nice.
You've been lured by Otaku. Nice. I hope you enjoy your stay here. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Hold on a second. Yeah. So your book Forevermind has been absolutely just, I've loved everything about it. And what I like about it is it's not just a futuristic thing. It's not just a science-based thing. It's really, when you get down into it, the relationship between the daughter and her father, like reconnecting and getting back in touch with each other.
You know, what I was really inspired by that, Steve Jobs, he barely had a relationship with his daughter. It was very complicated. So, you know, I think I read his biography, and that was interesting. And then there was a movie that came out that focused on that, and that was sort of like a great way into this story, because I knew that there had to be like a lot of, you know, big robot battles and stuff like that. But at the core, I think it really needed that kind of story engine that was really just about him. And I think what's cool about it is that the main character, Lucas Sang, is a scientist who is, it's like very narcissistic, and he's heavily flawed, and he really wants to really make a mark, and he feel like he's been overlooked. So he'll basically do anything to stand out and become great. So he uses his science in like very sketchy ways. His daughter it is really on the opposite end of the spectrum, because she's part of this kind of watchdog group that makes sure that science is not abused by corporations. So she's like an activist. So they end up being on completely opposite sides of the spectrum. and I guess the story is about whether they can ever get back together or have some sort of relationship when they're such polar opposites.
Mm-hmm. Well, why did you choose so I know you mentioned jobs, but why did you choose the father daughter and making them Asian American? Was there, um, what was the reasoning behind making them father daughter and it's specifically an Asian American dynamic?
Well, the father daughter thing really was about the Steve Jobs things, and just I like the idea that science is the family business, but it really is kind of a meditation on the different how polarizing science can be depending on which side you're on. There's one person who's using it to leverage himself higher, and then there's the daughter. A lot of times younger girls like what's her name, Greta Thunberg, like they're very idealistic and they're very against abuses by corporation and using science to harm either people or the environment. So I thought that puts them on really at opposite ends of the science spectrum, and I thought that was interesting that way. The fact that they're Asian, it was really because my publisher Carl Choi, we began to write the story together, and then all the characters were kind of cardboard cutouts. You kind of handled them as just like empty placeholders. And then it came time to draw the book, and I asked, like, well, have you ever thought about what this person looks like? Because I have to draw him for the first time. And he says, oh, yeah, use Daniel Wu. So all of a sudden, everyone was Asian,
So how did that come about when he said, yeah, use Daniel Wu? Like, how did you get involved with Daniel at the time? Because he's also part of this as well.
Okay, well, originally, like when I draw comics, I always try to base the characters on someone, a celebrity, because usually you can do Google searches and see that guy's face in movies lit different ways and from different angles. So I would usually draw celebrities, but since it's hard to make them look exactly like the celebrity, people can never tell. So he said, draw Daniel Wu, and so I did. And then we were thinking, like, Carl had this idea where if maybe he brought it to Daniel's people, that maybe he'd want to be involved, which is kind of like a long shot. But when you do a comic and write a story, the idea is that if you do your job right, then the story kind of grows. I mean, it catches on and it spreads. If the story were no good, I mean, you can take it to Daniel Wu's people and they're like, no thanks. This is cool, but no thanks. But if you do your job right, and then the story is kind of like catchy, or what they call unputdownable, or something I want to be part of, then it starts to gather more and more people. So that was a big boost. Like, he read it and he liked it and he wanted to be part of it. And to his credit, it's not just like we're not using his face or his celebrity status. He's actually in there in the writing meetings, and then informing us and building out the character, because he actually has a lot to say about actors more than anyone on the movie set. Even the writers, they're constantly asking about what's my character's motivation, so they're very keyed into character. So he came in with a wealth of knowledge and information about that, and so he's been great to work with, a great collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you guys had a really good team built up, and we were talking about backstage, but this is before you popped on, and Nam was even saying how when you read the story, it really feels like you're watching like a movie, like it's playing along. So he must have been really good at helping you like visualize that kind of like flow as well.
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't read a huge amount of comics. I mean, I read a lot of the important ones. So my influences mostly come from movies, and the story is kind of written like a screenplay. Because I don't really know too much about writing comics. The amount of information out there about writing comics is not that much. But you can see a ton of YouTube stuff and classes about writing screenplays. So that's where I learned most of my writing, and it kind of feels like a little movie.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely Daniel really helped that along the way. I can just imagine him acting through this, seeing a bunch of his performances. So it has that cinematic feel.
The thing that I was really impressed about, as far as the art is concerned, is that none of the background seemed like it was done lazily. I mean, no, just empty color or one color. Every background had. I mean, each panel was full of images, and not many. If there was a background, yeah, you have a movie set in the background.
Right.
So that was just amazing. I mean, not single lazily done background.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think it mostly comes from a weakness. Like when I think when you do art, I can only conceive of the image like a picture. And when you take a picture of something, you really can't drop the background away. It really comes with the foreground. So when I go draw something, it's very strange. It feels kind of empty back there. I kind of see like what would really be back there is not an empty space or sky. There would be stuff back there. And unfortunately, in a book like this, where it's science fiction, there's a lot back there. And to a point where I think it may hurt the story a little bit because there's so much there that it looks like, I think if you look at this book, you'll notice one thing. There's a lot of panels on each page, and every panel has background, and there's a lot of characters on the page, and there's a lot of story that gets compressed. So this is like a 2-hour movie that's compressed into like 3 issues. So what you're getting basically is almost like an entire season of a streaming series, but it's been compressed into 3 issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hope that it doesn't feel too cluttered, but the backgrounds is something that I put in because I think it makes the story feel real.
Right.
Yeah.
It gives me that what's that? Michael Crichton. I don't know if you read him, Jurassic Park, and that type of feeling all the way through. So,
great. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I mean, I think it really bordered on being too much for your. I didn't want to blow out your retinas, so.
I actually think the backgrounds helped with the imaginary type world because you have like the Disney-ish princess land, then you have the underworld, which is like corruption and like strippers and like all kinds of fantastical stuff happening in there. So I think it's absolutely fascinating because a lot of times when we're on here and we're talking about art and comics and stuff, the first thing that we talk about is there's no backgrounds really when you're looking at comics anymore, especially like the covers. Like that's kind of like a lost thing. So I really enjoyed the fact that you thought of the whole angle of everything, plus what was going around in either the top side or the underworld type stuff. You put it in there, but it flows nicely. So
yeah.
You guys, you did a great job on that.
Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate that because it's not easy. Like I know you can draw a figure and that's hard enough. But then the backgrounds seem to be like many times harder than the figure, but many times less important. So that's a great reason to leave it out. So I completely get when you leave it out because it's not worth the amount of time you put into it because it's so low level in terms of importance and so much harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I have trouble leaving it out because I just know that something's back there. So we'll see how far. Like if I may wake up one day and determine that we don't need backgrounds anymore, and then they'll change it for now.
Oh, I hope not, because to me this gives another level of another level of quality. My when I look at it, I go, wow, that's just another level of quality
Right.
that you are adding to the book. So
Mm-hmm.
it was. It's not just.
Yeah, another thing is like we tell a story with static images. So a movie is constantly moving, and TV is constantly moving. Real life is constantly moving. But when we tell a story in comics, it's a still image, and then you can kind of just look at the picture and move on. So kind of a way to counter that is just to put a lot back there. So if you wanted to go look at it again, then you can start exploring what's in the background. It gives you, it's more immersive.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, there's a lot of reasons why I do it. And I'm glad it's appreciated because it's definitely not easy. And it doesn't make for a good payday because it takes, 2 or 3 times longer.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time on
Yeah.
just the art alone. So how long ago did you guys start the process of making the Evermind?
Well, there was a lot of detours. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is something that we're supposed to admit, but we did. It was an NFT project, so uh, there was, NFTs. A lot of times you have those profile pictures. So
Yes.
so we spent like almost an entire year on that. So it wasn't really the story we were telling, but there was just building out those assets for the NFTs. So that took a long time, and designing stuff took a long time. Uh, and then also writing took forever because I was a first time writer. Carl was also my publisher, was also a co-writer in the beginning until he realized, well, this is just too hard. So um, and then I thought, well, hey, it's hard for me too. So I really had to take a real deep dive into just writing school, and it was definitely worth it because just learning the fundamentals of writing, I think, is something that is really kind of sorely missed.
Hmm.
If you look at a lot of like the big two, they're kind of struggling now. A lot of comics are struggling because the fundamentals of the art form are kind of missing, and you do have to go in and then study it, and that takes a while. And then in order to write well, it also takes a long time because a story may seem just like a series of events one after the other, but that's really just you're telling a situation or like an
Hmm.
event. But to make it a story, that's like 100 times harder.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like writing, rewriting, revising, and sometimes for an entire year, uh, because to me this isn't a comic that like a monthly comic that you put out on the shelf. This is sort of like my screenplay for a movie, and those actually, or a novel. A novel could take years to write. So,
Hmm.
so this is, I kind of think of it that way, um, and it's been slow because of it. So,
Yeah. Sean, who have been your influences, either comic books, or maybe uh, I guess on the big screen, or just I guess fiction that you enjoy reading? Who have been some of your influences from the pen?
okay. Um, the biggest thing for me in comics, like, I think comics are always a lot of fun, and like a lot of the fighting and the spandex and capes. But then when I grew up, I was gonna start to move away from comics because there was a certain age where that's really where there's a sweet spot where you enjoy that type of thing. But right as I was about to leave it, I read Watchmen, and Watchmen really blew my mind. It was like to take the subject matter seriously, and then to put all that great story structure and character development into it. And I
Hmm.
realized that you can do everything that you would do in a movie um, in this comic, which is, I mean, let's face it, comics are really a children's medium, but you don't have to age out of it. You can kind of take it with you into adulthood. And then
Yeah.
if you like Shakespeare, if you like, police procedurals, or if you like really adult stuff, you can still put it in your comic, and it fits just perfectly. So that was kind of what I want to do. Like, this is sort of like my version of, like, if I was able to write something like Watchmen, this would be it. That's the goal. I mean, there's no way I
Yeah.
would achieve that, especially on my first book, but just using that as a inspiration and a goal to try to achieve, that really fueled a lot. So as far as movies, my favorite one is Blade Runner is my favorite movie, and I used to like the Road Warrior. Really hit me hard when I was younger.
Nice,
So
nice.
there's like a lot of that science fiction and action mixed together. Um, I can't get enough of that stuff. To me it's the perfect genre.
Mhm.
So it's cool. So if you're like a younger person, there's a lot of action and there's a lot of visual spectacle. And then also if you're like more mature and you want a more sophisticated story, like science fiction also supports that.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing I noticed about this project is the way technology is sort of the engine for a lot of what's happening in the book, and you show that it mirrors what we're kind of dealing with right now with the question of AI. Will it serve us, or it will we serve it?
Right.
What's your sort of the message you want to send on that sort of motif of technology that runs through Evermind?
Okay, so the theme or the big philosophical question in Evermind is basically like there's a technology. It's basically technology seen from many different angles. Like, the father uses it to leverage himself upward, and then the daughter is kind of like very cautious of it. So this is a case where there's a highly flawed person who is able to do something with technology. Like, he's basically able to crack the very first steps of immortality through being able to transfer your consciousness into a permanent body. So he figured out how to do that, which is pretty incredible, but never really asked whether he should do it. And if you asked him if he should do it, well, he would say yes, because I need to become famous, or I need to make my mark on humanity. So it's kind of that thing. And AI is the same way. I think that people determine that there's a way that this thing can be done. We don't really concern ourselves too much with whether it should be done. The second question you ask is, can we make a lot of money from it? And then, so those are all the wrong reasons to do something. There is some technology that you should just, like Oppenheimer, there's just some technology you should just like leave alone and just say like, we can do it, and it's a good exercise, but
the risks and the versus rewards.
And AI can AI is, I think, for the most part, a really good thing. It can be used in really bad ways, and I think a lot of it is fortunately a lot of it is hype. So
yes, I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, you can make more money by hyping it up. So the difference in Evermind is that this technology is actually very real, and you kind of wish it were hype, but the consequences of what they're able to do, like there's one very evil guy who's trying to be the gatekeeper of immortality, and determines who gets to live forever and who doesn't, and the power and money that can bring, and then the fame that could bring the person who invented it. And it's a very difficult. It really is like a mirror on what's going on today, and that was just kind of just by happenstance. So
awesome. That's very deep indeed. CJ asked this question. I was curious too, so I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. Do you prefer working with the movie medium or comic book medium? Do you prefer movie medium over comic book medium?
Well, I love comics, and I told my publisher Carl when we came up with this story, it's not very movie friendly in a way that I think ideally in a movie you would kind of rent out a soundstage, and all the scenes can be shot within that soundstage because it's like a limited type of space. This story kind of goes all over the place. I mean, you have to build some crazy amount of sets. And I kind of knew that. Like, I would say, like, this will make a bad movie because it's just very hard to be very expensive. And I didn't really care because I love comics, and I told my publisher that if you ever bring me into a room where I have to impress like a bunch of studio executives, I'm not going to play nice, because the end product is a comic book, and I'll take their money, but I don't really care to see this in any other form. And that was in the early days. But now I'm part of 24/7 Comics, and I realize that there's this thing called funding or needing money, and that seems to be like, well, it seems like it's something that's an end game that has to be there for a lot of companies. Mm-hmm. So also, if you notice this story, there is a lot of allusions towards Disney and how corrupt this theme park is, and how they're doing very sketchy things. So I don't know how many movie studios Disney owns, but I don't think they want to tell this story. So.
Too many parallels to what's going on in
Absolutely.
Disney.
I can see.
I wouldn't mind seeing this in animation.
I was just about to say that. It would look really amazing and animated because of the colors and the themes that you have in there. It would look fantastic in animated.
Wow, yeah, I never thought of that, but that does get around the whole like having to make multiple sets and everything.
just trying to make the animatronic type part would be really difficult on a live action movie set. Yeah. Okay, so I want to address a couple things in chat because a couple people are asking about where to see it. So I'm going to drop this link one more time. So right now, this is a link to 247 Comics. This is where your publisher with Carl Choi is. If you click on here and you go to Comics and you click Evermind on top, you can go and do a preview of issue 1 on here. So you can see interiors, colors, everything. So this was originally, I want to say October, November when you guys did your Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So Journey actually had a couple questions for this because I know people actually backed the Kickstarter in here. So can you give an update on Sean's Kickstarter? So if you backed it, look in your email because one, you'll have a link to it's veve.me where you can get your NFT copy of the book and you can get different of the variant covers on there as well. So you can get that on there. You will also have a shipping notification saying that you got your books shipped. So you should be getting them probably by next week if that's the case. So let me uncheck that because there's a couple things happening that. Also, if you're getting them in the mail, you guys currently have a promotion right now where you can win an original sketch from Sean if you do an unboxing video and or photos or anything, but you tag all 3 channels, which I'll get into that more later when I pull up your 247 page. But so there's a lot of things happening with the Kickstarter right now.
Well,
which
I'm
read
glad you
a
know
lot.
this,
Yeah.
I was unaware of all this. So
well, now you know. So now you know. So yeah. So I will also drop so it's called Vive. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Vive Me, because originally you said that you started as an NFT project. So if you go here, you can actually buy an NFT copy of Evermind issue 1. And you could get an NFT version of it coming with several different comic of the covers, but you could actually read it on there as well. And I think it was like $6.99 or something like that for a digital NFT issue, which is interesting. It's an interesting aspect that you're kind of putting that in there as well.
Yeah, I think what's cool about that is, well, I mean, it really is whether you believe in digital collectibles. A lot of people think that those really don't mesh well together. But as the artist, I worked on this thing and I would see it digitally. And I've been making comics and, scanning into Photoshop and then processing the pages. And then I usually am kind of disappointed when it gets printed on paper. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think comics really just present a lot better in digital form. But that's just me,
Yeah, especially depending on how you're printing it as well. Like if you're doing a high gloss or you're doing newsprint, like some of the coloring gets lost in that, and you can really get into how vivid colors are digitally, and I really enjoy that on some digital stuff.
You know what I wish they had is how they have variant covers. I would like to see a variant issues where it's all black and white, no colors.
So that was actually available on his Kickstarter.
Was it?
Yeah, I think they call it the artist edition.
Good segue.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, you guys did something interesting on that too, because you guys didn't even add the word bubbles on there, and it was all just your black and white line work. So I actually picked that up myself, and that's what I'm looking for. I can't wait to see that come in because I love your line work. It's some of my favorite, especially the way that you draw like the cyborg type things. It's gorgeous. So I can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about the black and white. I can never really get used to seeing things in color because I created it in black and white, and I used to think that the colors were just not very good. But that's not the case because Tom Chu, who colored this, he's a first-rate colorist I've been working with forever. But I think one thing that happens with color is that you would get a lot of nuance in the black and white, and then when you put color over it, it kind of like gangs things together and makes it all one flat plane. So everything takes a step towards being flatter, which is not necessarily a bad thing from a storytelling standpoint because you have to be just a lot more clear. So, but yeah, the black and white looks more like real life, and then the color makes it a readable comic.
Sean, so we have Bernard on tomorrow, and I know you guys have a very close and special relationship. I want to go back to when you got your start at Valiant, because when you started at Valiant, it was a very sort of revolutionary, innovative time for comic books. It was when the internet kind of was getting started. Can you just talk about what it was like to be working in the industry, and just kind of like being adjacent to like Image, being, at Valiant, what the culture there was like, and again, talk maybe more about your relationships that you built during your time there.
Okay. Well, that was my first. I was pretty young, and that was my first job really in comics. So I had nothing to compare it to, but it was a strange time because there was a lot going on. Um, I think most of us kind of know what a bubble is. Back then, we didn't really have them for it. I mean, we have a housing bubble and there's a stock market bubble and all that stuff. But back then, I mean, there really wasn't this type of thing. So comics were going through this big heyday where there was this huge bubble, and then I'm not sure which company would get selected to be on the good side of that, but I happened to just kind of Forrest Gump my way into Valiant, and that happened to be a darling company that was put up right up against Image in terms of like a, you know, peers, and that which I couldn't understand because I thought Image was a completely different company with way cooler art and way cooler stories. Um, and but then, you know, for some reason certain companies get selected to be very hot, and it was just very hot. um, I met a lot of great people there, and people I still know to this day. Like I know Barry Windsor Smith was living legend. Just to be able to work with him, to have him as a mentor there and working in the studio with him um,
Wow.
was probably like one of the highlights of my career. And I met Bernard there very early on when he first kind of came in off the street and got a job there. So we kind of started out together, and that was like 30 years ago. Also, Bob Layton, famous
Wow.
Iron Man artist, he was the person that I spent most of the time with because he was actually in the studio every day, standing over you,
Awesome.
directing you, and then teaching you. So it was a great learning experience. I learned from everyone there, and so yeah, it was a very surreal time because
Yeah.
I just went from working at a grocery store into then working in a studio in comics, and not just when you start out in comics, you're supposed to start out kind of in obscurity. But my first book sold like 800 or 900,000 copies,
Wow.
and Barry Windsor Smith was right there, and Bob Layton was right there, and your beginnings are not supposed to be this way. And it lasted for a short amount of time because soon after that the bubble burst, and it's been a long period of just like bankruptcy. So
Yeah.
But you did it at the right time, because that's why we call you Sugar Sean.
yeah, I got my first royalty check, and then my mom. I come from a family of doctors, and my mother knew that I was the artist. That I was the artist because I didn't do well in school. So that royalty check, I gave it to her and said, like, invest this, and
Oh.
yeah. So money tends to grow if you don't mess with it, and then a couple decades later, it becomes it becomes a good amount. So I'm able to. The great thing is it gives me the freedom to do things like get away from Marvel and DC and strike out on an independent book and roll the dice. That's the greatest thing about it.
Wow. That's a great story. Now we talked about the Deathmate tour. Can you, because we don't have a lot of like background or I guess backstage transparency into how that project came together, but there were a lot of big names on that project. Can you talk about the level of collaboration? Because a lot of people, like, it was hyped up so much. Deathmate was like hyped up so much, but then kind of like as it kept going forward, it kind of, it felt like there wasn't a lot of, I don't know, cohesion in the project. But can you talk about the level of planning that went into it?
I really wasn't that intimately involved with the plan. I had my portion to do, and that's kind of what that I saw was right in front of me. But I would see things in the background. I would hear Bob Layton having conversations over the phone with Jim Lee or Rob Liefeld. I would see Bob Layton like leave the office and get on a plane, and I was told that he's trying to get work out of Rob Liefeld, who's just to get him to focus. And I will see like Barry Windsor Smith, gets pages back from Jim Lee
Wow.
that was kind of imitating his style and his thoughts about that. So a lot of these things, they're big events, and then you plan the best that you can. There's a lot of different people involved, and then things kind of get stitched together as best as you can. I'm surprised. Like, you would think there'd be a lot more planning and a lot more synergy, but with most things like this, that there wasn't. So
Okay.
people turned in what they did, and then you try to make the best out of this. Kind of like it's like a big old salad in the end.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that Deathmate tour was the photo the guys have in the back, and Bernard's mullet. That's the best. That's the best. He was taking some amazing photos in the 90s. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I was never really a guy who took pictures or a guy who was in pictures a lot. So a lot of my life in the past, I see through photos that Bernard has taken. So
yeah. So if you go follow Bernard and you're looking at the pictures where you guys are flying back, you'll see you behind him. I don't even know if you've even seen those yet. You're like passed out in the seat behind him.
yeah, I was sick as a dog. So
Oh, I'm glad you're feeling better today, though, because you guys just got back from that. That's only been a couple days ago since you guys got back from that.
it's been about a week, yeah.
Yeah.
And then trying to settle back into work.
Yeah.
So
Was this your first time in Morocco, or?
it was my second time. So this is kind of like there's a book fair twice a year. So
Mhm.
we went to the first one in November, and then I heard rumblings that they would have us back again.
Oh wow.
And then sure enough, in just a few weeks ago, we went for a second time, this time to Rabat. So who knows how long it's going to be, but as long as they like spreading comics into their culture, I think I'd love to go back.
Yeah. Is there are they trying to build like an industry there? Are there a lot of fans, and what's the sort of?
Well, there's many reasons for it. I think the biggest thing is, I think what they know about comics and the superheroes really comes from the Marvel movies, which are just basically international phenomenon.
Sure.
So to be able to have some semblance, I'm sure what they really want is for Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth to be there, but that ain't gonna happen. So they know that these stories come from comics, and the Minister of Culture is a big fan of the characters, and since there's like a book fair, it does involve reading, and they don't really put out their own comics. So in the best case scenario, it's kind of introducing a whole country to the idea of the comics as a medium.
Mm-hmm.
And my wish for them is that there are people who would pick up the mantle and tell their stories.
Yeah.
So it's a great. Ideally, that's the great thing about it. But really, I think what it is that book fairs can be boring, and then so you can amp it up by bringing over some superhero comics, because it does qualify as a book, So
Yeah.
And bring Daniel Wu with you,
There you go, movie star.
yeah, international movie star. Yeah, he's a great guy. So
He seems super nice. And because you guys are friends with some other actors. Because I remember when Perry Young used to come on the sketch battle too. And if you don't know, he's in the Warrior show. And he's awesome. He's awesome.
Well, that's because Jerry Ma is part of the stream. Everyone knows Jerry. He's sort of like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Jerry Ma
He's
is
a
the
party
hub.
guy.
You're connected to everyone in the world if you know Jerry Ma. So,
Wow.
This is true. Yeah, he seems like the life of the party when you see Jerry.
Yeah, and you can really tell when he's not on the stream. Yeah, the stream becomes very educational.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad.
Man, I'm telling you, one day we're gonna have the Battle of the Sketches needs to come back. We need to have Raquel That's got to be our theme because I'm telling you that needs to happen.
Yeah, Raquel's the rat lady.
The rat lady that Jerry sees all the time. That's hilarious. So we were just talking about when you went to Morocco, but Eman has a question here because I know Bernard goes to a lot of overseas cons as well. Of the international cons you've been to, which one stands out as the most memorable?
Of all the internet, yeah, I don't do too many international shows.
Yeah.
I know, like in because of some strange history of publishing, Spain, for a while it was being fed a lot of Marvel comics. So
Okay.
they love their Marvel comics. I'm not sure when it was, but there was a certain period of Marvel that really went over there quite a bit, and I'm kind of like in that roster of artists that drew a lot back then. So I'm big in Spain, but in France they don't care, and then in Asia they got their own comics. Japan's got their own comics. So Spain seems to be the place that we end up going to a lot because they have a strong history of Marvel in their past.
Nice.
But yeah, the thing with Bernard is I think there's a couple of things that he enjoys the international conventions, and also he needs those airline miles. So he would, and like one good thing about our job is that these days, if you have like a iPad, you can have Procreate on it, and he draws like in the waiting room and the first class lounge, even on the airplane and hotels. So you can actually work and not miss a beat, and you can just be working with the Eiffel Tower as your hotel view, and then so he's hardly ever at home. So
yeah. The one that stands out to me the most too that he goes to is the Storm the Black one. That one seems super interesting. What is it? That was in like Abu Dhabi or something?
Yeah, the UAE. I think what goes on there is like that whole place is sort of like an instant city. Like it kind of came up very quickly, and they just need to kind of have culture just kind of pop up out of nowhere. So if they need something to enrich the people, they would just buy it. So you would see, like, if they need a soccer team, like, let's start a soccer team because we have all the money in the world. So it's just like out of the box start it. So they would, if they want to start either like a MCU of their own or a comic book company, you don't have to kind of wait and train the local talent because like that takes time. You just take all those artists, like the veterans from America, and just bring them over and then just get things going. So yeah, I think that's great. So we can spend a lot of time going to the Middle East.
So I've actually recently had a couple of people on from Greece and a bunch of other countries. Have you ever gone to any cons in Greece?
Well, I guess like you can kind of hear like when I talk about flying, like I said, like half the time I fly, I become violently ill. So I tend not to fly that much. So it's harder to get me to an international show.
Right.
I do mostly the ones in the United States, and then a lot that are kind of within driving distance.
You got one coming up this weekend, right? It's like a little one-day type thing.
Yeah, that one's actually so close. It's within walking distance. That's the Forest Hills Comic Con. So I live in Forest Hills, New York, which is the birthplace of Spider-Man, the fictional Spider-Man. And Forest Hills High School was, I guess, the high school that he went to when he was younger. I think it was given a different name, but so it's just kind of weird. But I ended up here. It's just a coincidence, and then I'm doing a show at that high school.
Awesome.
Whoa.
Nice.
My dad and my parents all live in Forest Hill. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Asians here. There's Bukharian Jewish people and a lot of Asians.
Cool.
Nice.
So, Sean, can you talk to your Taiwanese American heritage? I know you and Bernard are you share your cultural heritage. What are some of the, I guess, what is it like to be part of your community, and how do you kind of, I guess, connect with your Taiwanese culture?
Well, I do a bad job of that. I think when you have Bernard on tomorrow, you will see that he's a very good advocate and cheerleader of the Taiwanese culture. I actually never been to Taiwan. I was born here, but of course my parents. I think she was kind of like an expatriate, but we still spoke the language, and we all the customs and the food we still kept in touch with. And I I I think I guess what you would call me is like what they call a banana, you know, yellow on the
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah.
white on the inside.
I got
Like I
eggs.
said,
Yeah.
K-pop is more Asian than I am. But it's never too late to immerse yourself. So if I can stomach the long, 24-hour flight there, I plan to go pretty soon and kind of discover my roots.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go. It's such a wonderful place.
Yeah, it's become, you wouldn't hear too much about it before, but for some reason Taiwan is like it's like a big tourist destination now. It's really on the map now as a place to visit. And
Yep.
Quite incredible. So I definitely have to check it out. I actually will pretty soon, probably as soon as a year from now.
Cool.
There's a couple people laughing there. I want to ask Brandon's question because this is one of the first questions that was actually asked in chat real quick. What has been your personal favorite comic or series you've worked on? That
I worked on. It's usually the last thing I worked on. I think as an artist, you're always evolving. I don't really play too much favorites in terms of storylines. For me, it's really just about the art because I'm the artist, and it's so important for me that the art looks really good. And since I'm always evolving as an artist, the last thing I did is usually the best, and it becomes very hard to look at the other stuff. But I like Batman Beyond because I like working with Dan Jurgens. I think Iron Man, just because of the opportunity there, it was probably the biggest character I got the opportunity to work on, and it was kind of my entry into Marvel. So that was probably the most important to me. But honestly, it was a chore to draw, and it's also not that fun to draw. Wolverine was like a lot of fun, and he's my favorite character, and the fact that I got to draw him for a couple of years I'm not sure how that happened, but to go from Iron Man to Wolverine is kind of like a strange trajectory, but yeah, that was probably the best time when I was doing Wolverine and then X-Men the End, just because the X-Men are my favorite group, so just to be able to draw that was great.
Awesome.
That was it for me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's see. Let me ask a couple other ones.
Do
you have any other questions?
I'm going to show some Wolverine drawing here.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, let's show off some of Sean's art.
Yeah. We do have, so just people that are still in chat, I still have a whole bunch of questions starred so we can get to those too, but let's show off some work here. And this is actually a question from Kelly right now. What was the funnest lunch bag / barf bag art that you've done? Yeah.
Oh, wow. I think there's some that are very funny, and I like Wolverine, so you'll probably see there's probably five or so different Wolverine barf bags. They're not the funny ones, but I think they're just a lot of fun to draw. And so these projects here are kind of like, I have a daughter, and she comes home with these school projects, and she needs a lot of times help on them. And so this is a school project, and usually it'd be drawn with kid stuff. But the funny thing to me is just to bring a professional artist level of ability to a child's project. In a way, it's sort of like what we're doing in comics. Comics is a kid's medium, but you work really hard to do kick-ass art in it and write sophisticated stories, but you're in a kid's medium. Another thing that I do, you'll notice on that my Instagram, is those little running figures, you turn the crank and then the figures.
Oh, I love those. Yeah.
So that's another child's project that I thought it'd be funny to bring a professional level of artistry to a child's project. And for some reason, I was wondering why I would do these things, and it's the strange thing to me, it's the same reason why we do comics. A lot of people won't admit it, but comics were made for kids. They were designed for kids. I mean, primarily, overall, they're for kids. But then we just started telling serious stories with them, and then spending way too much time on the art on them. And that's what these things are.
I love to be your pen pal.
Oh yeah, the running things that you do are absolutely hilarious. I love the one with the Batman with the bomb, and then you did the Tippy Hedren with the birds the other day. That was amazing. But if you guys don't know, this one, I love this one. I love this one a lot. But if you guys don't know, you guys know that the squirrel that crawls up to the bird feeder, that's the Scream mask. That's him. That's him. He created that. He did that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that kind of separates me from a lot of artists is I'm primarily like I'm a maker of things. Like I just have a restless. I make a lot of things, and comics are just one of the things that I make. So I start out my Instagram just showing off my artwork, but then sooner or later, like these weird making things kind of creep in there, and I was told that you have to niche down. So I kind of kept all that stuff out of my comic book pages, out of my Instagram. But eventually it made it in there, and I found it doesn't really hurt my following. I think people actually enjoy seeing these, like the silly things that I come up with, as well as the comic book art.
Yeah.
Wow, I love these.
That was awesome.
They're so much fun, and yes, those were underoos that he was putting on in the Superman one, and I love that one. That's probably one of my favorite pieces that you've done. Oh, that's so cool. I want to get to a couple of comments right here. So Michael is saying, Sean is your favorite Iron Man artist. Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Cool.
I mean,
Look at that. Look at that. I love that.
That's fun. And you recently got a figure based off your Iron Man last year, right? They released that finally.
Yeah, I never thought I'd see that because, I mean, if you work for Marvel, there's so many different artists that have gone through the character. I mean, it's the same character from my mid-30s, but then so many different artists work on it. And I was just one of many. And I was pretty sure I was not going to be one that had a seminal run on Iron Man. Like, even though I did 3 years on that title, there's always Bob Layton, and there's all these great artists that came before me. And then when I saw that, I was like, this doesn't make sense because why are they highlighting my run? Because it was kind of like a little blip in the whole Marvel timeline, the Iron Man timeline. So it was great to see. I'm glad that enough time goes by and people look back fondly on these things. So
it is amazing. So this might be actually something that you might even remember because Shelby here, this is Shelby Robertson. He says he was your neighbor during that small Wizard World New York show years ago.
Oh yeah.
And Shelby Robertson. So he worked for Extreme Studios and he also worked for Image at one point, and he's still in the business today.
Yeah, he really blows my mind. I mean, I think during that show he told me he's done 1,000 commissions. And I'm like, wow, I don't think I've done 1,000 drawings in my life. So that guy is prolific as hell, and they're like really great. Like that was a long time ago. So I kind of like wonder how many drawings he has under his belt by now, and how great it must be. So.
Thousands of them, and I'd say 80% of them are the ASM 300 homage. Interesting. Sean, did Sean show you how he does sketch cover? It's a trip, the pencil transfer thing. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Pencil transfer. I think it might be just like the old school carbon copy. Like, I think it's hard to draw on those sketch covers. So sometimes I would just draw it on just a piece of paper, and then the problem is you have to get that onto the sketch cover, and there's no technology that can do that yet. So I would just scribble gray pencil all over the back of the drawing, and then just kind of trace it off onto. It's kind of like carbon paper. Remember carbon paper from a long time ago? It's kind of like making your own carbon paper.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I used to do that from when we had to do wood carving. So we would have to layer it, and then you just trace over it. But the pencil thing works. It's quite fascinating how that works.
Yeah. I spend too much time on all of my drawings, just because drawing is still a struggle for me, and I have to find all these little hacks to get it to come out right, which is really strange to say if you're been drawing as long as I have, that it's still like pulling teeth every time. So
Mm. Who are some of your influences, in the art world or in the comic book industry?
uh, I would say the first person that really hit me really hard, that fueled basically an entire decade of just drawing, just trying to be like, is Travis Charest.
Yes.
Charest, actually. Yeah. So something about his work just really hit me hard, and I just wanted nothing more than to be just like that. And he had like this ungodly level of drawing ability, and that lasted for like a decade. And I still love his work today. But then I kind of latched on to Olivier Coipel.
Ooh, yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh, and he's really is still a major influence. Like, and then the very very latest person that I want to be is Pepe Larraz. You know, it seems like so much of what fuels me is like looking at that stuff and then just wanting to be that so badly that I have to just like start working at it. But really, they're very important, because I think I wouldn't know what's possible to draw unless I've seen it before, and so I really do have to see someone's art as like a North Star that I can work towards. Otherwise, I would think that I'm drawing about as well as a person can draw in comics. So I have to see some of the best stuff out there to kind of raise the level.
Yeah, all incredible.
Yeah, he actually had one of your covers, your variant covers for your Evermind Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, you talking about?
Yes, Ruan. Is it
Oh,
Ruan?
DK1. Yeah, DK1. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's good stuff. I love his art. His art is amazing. And hold on. Shelby says, watching Sean jam out a cable sketch cover, it was like watching Ancient Secrets Not Meant for Mankind to Witness. Nice, Shelby. Oh man, yeah, he's been doing amazing stuff. But yeah, I like.
Wow.
It's so good. Your watercolor skills have leveled up big time since you started picking it back up again, and I've loved. I know we've talked about that a bunch of times over the past couple of years, but I love watching you watercolor. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I'm still kind of learning how to do it. I think everyone kind of when they do colors, they go to markers, and you have a lot more control with those Copics. But I always like when you use watercolor, you get a similar appearance, but it's more in a fine art category rather than an illustration. So
Yeah.
And it's crazy to have to try to control the watercolor wash. It's hard to tame, but and I just think that you have to do a lot of it. So I just try to do a lot of it.
Ooh. You're getting some really good compliments from CJ here. He says, I love the way Sean draws Batman. I mean, you should. You picked up, what was a Batman Beyond sketch at Baltimore from him? Kev's chiming in, what's wrong with markers? Kev's also an artist, if you guys don't know, but yeah.
You know what's wrong with markers is how much they cost. And then if you have to take them to a convention, like I think it's just ridiculous. Like if you need like a very light pink hue for the nose, that there's a marker for that, and it has to be a little bit darker. There's a marker for that, and a little bit darker. So there's like 5 different of red. With watercolor, it's just I have a travel watercolor set that's the size of like a flask, and that covers everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see here. So if you want a cheaper version, Shelby here has been informing me about the Uhuhu brands, and apparently they're the same as the Copics, so go check those out, guys. Let's see.
So you built that miniature assembly process?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so like I said, like I'm kind of very mechanically inclined. I like to build things. So this is a good way to make a piece of art into like a 3D kinetic sculpture. And I like process and methodology to figure things out. So
cool.
If you draw comics, if I draw comics for too long, the fact that it's 2-dimensional and so tiny and it really bothers me. So I always, try to make things, build things also.
That is so cool.
You get
That
very
is awesome.
scientific, which is awesome, and you involve your daughter in it as well, because you've done a lot of stuff with like resin, mold making. I adore the fact that you cut out a chunk of your house to make that bird window so that your daughter can watch the birds hatch and stuff. That's fascinating to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think kind of very restless that way. I always liked making things, and I think if I didn't, then I would just pretty much resent the time I'm doing comics, because comics are just so two-dimensional, and everything you do there, everything you make and put in comics is not real. So it's nice to make something that you can actually pick up. And I started out in college as a fine arts major, and my problem with fine arts is that kind of anything goes. You can just, whatever you do, like there's no structure to it. So art for me, there has to be spreadsheets and then technical bulletins and data you have to read, and then there has to be something where if it succeeds or fails. So with those running figures, if it jams up, then it didn't work, and then objectively it didn't work. If it's fine art, you can always just say like, oh, it's supposed to do that. So the art that I do needs to have a nerd component to it, and I think that's why I'm in comics instead of doing paintings of fruit or landscapes.
And we're all thankful that you're in comics. Yes.
Yeah.
Are these on print, or any of it in your store somewhere?
I don't have a store, which is kind of weird because I have a lot of things that I put out. But I think if anyone wants stuff, they just DM me, and that they can go through the whole process. Then you can buy like the running figures or like commissions, or I don't really have a website, so.
Selling the running figures? What? Okay, I gotta wait.
Yeah, you said you at the end of the thing you do like a giveaway. So if you want one as a giveaway, just let me know.
Nice.
Ooh, I want that Luke Skywalker one and
Strangely, the most popular one is the Tippy Hedron with the one with the birds.
I love the birds.
I have no idea why, because that's not people don't come to my Instagram for that type of stuff, but it outsells the other ones like 10-1 for some reason.
I love this Phoenix.
You know what you're gonna have to do now is you're gonna have to recreate the squirrel scream mask. So do the squirrel running, but like lift it where the head comes up and down.
Oh my gosh. Okay, never mind. I want this one instead.
I want to shout out more people because they were asking stuff. There was a couple people that says, "What is the black and white image behind you?" And then Travis Gibb here is also an independent comic creator. He says, "The New Mutants behind you." He loves the New Mutants banner behind Sean.
Oh, maybe let me see if I can take it over there.
Oh, nice.
So I do a lot of construction, and there's a big hole in my wall. So they put up a construction. I think it's just paper. So I drew on it. So that's Danny Moonstar and Demon Bear.
Oh wow!
But it's just drawn.
Covering up the covering up the hole in the wall. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Figure drawing is saying he sees a million craft artworks that are exquisitely amazing, not cost a lot of money. Yeah, I know. They look super high quality and look like they're worth like a ton of money, but they're so much fun to just like tinker with.
What is he referring to exactly? Like
the craft things, like the running things. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, once you get the template, you can make all sorts of different. Just swap out the characters.
Wildstorm says you can barely see the hole, but there you go, Wild.
Yeah, every time there's a live stream, I have to roll it down. It rolls up and covers up a lot of utility back there, like a utility room. It just looks really ugly, so I unravel it.
It looks great. It looks great. From here, it just looks like a wall scroll. So it looks fantastic.
I thought it was one of those things. You know how you're familiar with Kim Jong-gi?
Oh yeah.
I thought it might be just drawing on your walls. Just put the paper up and start drawing. You know.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's that Tyvek house wrap. So it's construction paper that's used in making part of making a house. It's waterproof. So it was up there covering a hole, and then I just thought it'd be cool to draw on it, and you know it's just been there for so long. I just kind of don't even see it anymore.
It's 40. Yeah. Let's see. This is another good question. What is your favorite medium to work with? Clearly, you have a ton of different mediums that you work in.
I'd have to say that the ink part of comics, like when you draw a traditional comic, it's figuring out the layout, and then you pencil it, and then you ink it, and then the black and white, I think leaving it at that stage, I think is where I find the most gratifying thing. Anything else that I do where it involves color, like either computer coloring or watercolor, those are usually for commissions or for art that people buy as original art.
Mm-hmm.
So those are more like novelty things, or just because I think on Instagram, if you look through my Instagram, there's a lot of black and white, and I think that turns a lot of people off. So the color just helps with the follower count. So I feel an obligation to paint a little bit, but that's not part of what I do work-wise. It's just basically I do learn a lot from it, and it's a good experience to do. But my primary work is black and white ink work.
Wonderful. Sean, can you tell us what's upcoming in terms of your, I guess, public engagements or just personal projects?
Okay. I don't do much these days other than I have to finish the second half of Evermind. So like if you guys have the book, it's the Kickstarter for 3 issues. That's half the story. So the second half I'm working on now, very slowly, just because if you don't give an artist a deadline, they kind of work very slowly. So I gotta do that, and then I pick up projects here or there, cover gigs. In terms of like there's not much in terms of like appearances and stuff. I kind of stick close to home and do conventions when if they're kind of local or if they come up. But I think I primarily am available through the Bernard's Twitch. You can see my work on Instagram and then speak to me through Twitch. So
here, let me drop the link for that again.
On your, I missed your Kickstarter. I'm just regretting that I missed your Kickstarter, and I would love to have that artist edition. Is there any way for anyone to get that artist edition?
I should find. And really, it's run by my publisher, so he would know the answer. I'm sure there is. I wish, I want everyone to read the story. Just I would love feedback, and I do these things because I'm trying to tell a story. I want people to say, even if you have to pirate it, for God's sake, pirate it. You don't have to pay for it. So the more important thing is that you see it and read it, and then let me know how I'm doing on it. Good things, good or bad.
No, I love it. I mean, I'm beyond pirating right now. I need to get it. I'm a collector, so I have to have the real copy in my head.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We love. I never really understood collectors. I don't collect anything. And I never understood someone who did collect. And comics are so fragile. I didn't understand. But then now that I'm in the business side, the publishing side, we love collectors because who's going to spend $25 on a comic? Especially if you want to read it, you can read it for free, but that doesn't pay our bills. So our bills are really paid by the people, the fewer people who actually spend a lot of money for these, because having an actual copy in their hands is important. And that's really our bread and butter. So,
yeah. I know Carl and the guys at the 247 have been going around to a bunch of cons. Are you guys going to be meeting up for another con coming up?
I guess he will let me know if I'm required to be somewhere. But yeah, I mean, we did our big tour to promote the first Kickstarter, and then they're on to a different book now. So I'm not sure how much I'll be part of that, but that's it's a different crew. That book is called Zero Ghosts, and that Kickstarter will be coming out soon. So
Cool.
keep an eye on that. So, but if there is something that involves me, he'll let me know. And then I go to LA a lot for those shows, and San Diego possibly, and Baltimore. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
You hijacked Bernard's table last year in New York.
Yeah, he's always in Taiwan these days. So.
That's true. Well, you know, he's got reasons to be there, but yeah, it's funny. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Because yeah. If you guys want to ask some questions, I'm gonna try and pull something up. Or you want to go show more of his art real quick? We can do that. Sure. But I'm trying to pull something up real quick.
Present some more art here.
Let's see. Oh, it's in messages.
So this is you giving out your secret right here.
Yeah, these are available in kit form. I think everyone who sees it, they want the PDF, and you know, you really can't make this from a PDF because there's like wooden pieces and metal involved and 3 different types of paper stock. So this one's available as a kit, and I always encourage anyone who wants to make these, buy one and then just copy it. You know, just reverse engineer it. So.
That's how I figure out how to do a lot of things. I figured out how to make a plushie. I figured out how to make a bunch of jewelry and a bunch of other stuff because I would just study the design of how to do stuff. And I go, well, I could just do that myself. And then that to me is awesome as an artist, is learning things that you've never even attempted before.
Yeah, I fully support that.
Right, hold on, let me see. I'm trying to
doing the background work that really that is inspiring.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, you have to draw backgrounds. Like if you do a present day comic, drawing backgrounds is hard enough, but you can always rely on what's really behind you. You can do Google image to see what things look like. But if you're telling a sci-fi story, none of that stuff really exists. So I go to draw it, and then it's like, wait a minute, I don't even know what this looks like. So I got to spend time designing it, and then I have to draw it. So.
Yeah. That's why I do appreciate Jack Kirby's old books, because he really had to draw those things that doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah, and they had such a strong, you can always tell the Jack Kirby backgrounds.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to drop this link.
Let's see this Taylor Swift in action.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's a Taylor Swift in action coming up. No.
It's there somewhere, yeah.
It's somewhere.
Okay. So I'm dropping the link right now because this is for the Zero Ghost campaign. It's in pre-launch right now, but if you guys want to go and just click on it to be notified when it does go launch. So this is the next 247 campaign right here.
Cool. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of these kind of boutique publishers coming up, so we always need help getting the word out. So.
Oh, for sure.
You saw it here. And those of you who's gonna complain about this, link down there. Way down after you read everything.
There we go. Boom. I know. It's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well that one will age. I mean, it was a certain time and place, but you know, the cool thing about like doing these things, like if this were coming out from like a corporation, there's like a run time, there's a setup time, and there's actually a distribution time. But for me, like I would see something, get an idea, and then within one day I can have a working thing that I can show on Instagram.
Wow.
I actually put it out for sale within a few days.
Wow.
You have a Taylor Swift background music there when you're doing this? I purposely turn off the sound, but
oh yeah, I don't know, maybe I forgot. Probably.
Good memes are like fine wine. Yes, exactly. I love that.
Me too. Spidey. Man, again, I love to be your pen pal. Imagine getting one of those in your mailbox, man.
Okay.
Yeah, they originally were barf bags. So back when I was crazy.
Oh, this is barf bag. Okay.
Yeah. So I would fly on an airplane. Like for some, like I don't know about most people. I don't read. Like so when I go on the long flights, like everyone opens up a book and starts reading or something, and I think they're crazy. So I would take the barf bag from the back of the seat and then draw on it. So the goal is like on the flights from New York to LA, you have about like 5 hours to do a drawing. So I would draw on the barf bags, and by the time we land, I would have one of these that I can put on Instagram, just to
Nice.
make use of the flying time.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I just started just doing them at my studio because they were very popular.
Oh, they're fun to see. This is my favorite comment so far. Looks like he can't shake her off. Oh, hey.
Very clever.
Yeah, sometimes CJ is clever. Sometimes.
Is your daughter a Swiftie? Is she into the Swift?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's right down the road, yeah.
Ooh, the inkwork here.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so this is showing off some of the Evermind.
Mine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bobo. Give it up for Bobo.
Yeah, it would really help just to know what people think of this. I think people should be getting these books within the next couple of weeks. It's a lot of work to do this, and the hard thing about doing the first 3 issues is that I have no idea if when we put it on Kickstarter whether it's going to sell at all. And
That's true.
it's a lot of investment in time and effort, and it felt very bad that I just don't know if it's going to go over that well, and I don't know if there's a big old waste of time. So, doing the next 3 issues, the first 3 issues will be out. So that's if people are liking it, that will give me a reason to continue, to get up every day and actually fight the good fight and draw those crazy backgrounds.
So far, the people that I know that have read the PDFs, because when you back the Kickstarter and you got the PDFs already, because you had to update your shipping information, I've seen a lot of people really like what they've been seeing so far. So
This is
way
so
to go, guys.
creative, man. I'm never gonna throw my egg cartons again. Oh God,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, and you guys did a ton of promotions for that too. Like you were there, like Daniel Wu was doing some stuff. Even Carl was getting on doing some streams. Like you guys were really hustling that Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'm not really a forward-facing guy. I don't really show my face that often. But when it came time for like this book, since it's kind of like my baby, like I wrote and drew it, and I would probably go into a really long depression if it was all just one big mistake. So I would do everything possible to try to get the word out for it, and I worked really hard on it, and I really wanted to go over well. So I did a lot of interviews. I did your interview, your show.
I know.
And about a dozen more. So
yeah, no, I thank you. So you and Bernard, I thank both of you all the time because you guys are so much fun, and you really, really, I want to say, get to know your fans. Because I want to say years ago when we first started even talking back and forth, even on Twitch, like you would call me by my name, like in comments. And I was like, oh, this dude is awesome that he even went to my page to figure out what my name was to even respond back to me. So that's awesome when you guys do that. So
yeah, I find it really hard. Like if I don't see the people, I can't really put a name to them. So it's really hard. Everyone has a screen name, and so I don't really know who's who sometimes. I think like Courtney, I think is really good at that, but for some reason there's a barrier there, and it's a separation.
Wildstorm's giving me some shit. He says, meanwhile, he doesn't know my name. Oh, damn.
I think I know what you look like and everything, but the thing is sometimes I can't connect that person that I met with the screen name. It's really bad, but
yes.
I guess I'm more of a visual person.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Let's see. Okay, if you want to pause that for a second and then hold on, let me open this to a new window so I can show this real quick, because this has to do with the Kickstarter, because as of, I believe, a few days ago, we started getting notifications. Okay, so if you did back, you already paid at the time for the items that you did, but right now they're requesting you to go on and verify your address and everything because they have to charge you for shipping. So it's about $9-10 depending on what you ordered. So you have to do that through Pledge Manager. Okay. So CJ, if you have not done that, please got to do that. And then you get your digital copies there. But right now, you guys have a contest going on for people that are unboxing the Kickstarter when it comes in. So, which is awesome because you guys can win a chance to win some Sean Chen original art.
Holy cow! I cannot even get into that one.
I know. You screwed up not backing Nam.
This contest is kind of bittersweet for me. Carl didn't show me the artwork, but he picked this one because Gambit is very popular now because of X-Men '97.
Yeah.
And so he picked this piece of artwork from. He at one point he bought all the artwork that I have out there circulating, just to own it all. So this piece is maybe 20 years old, and it's very tough for me to look at. But so you'll be winning this piece of 20-year-old artwork that
it's vintage. You can't get that anymore.
Awesome.
Okay, let me tell you this one more time because I know you had a rough day, had all kinds of stuff happen to you, CJ. In your email, look for something from Pledge Manager and 247 Comics. It'll say, click here to verify your shipping address to pay for shipping. When you do so, it'll take you to the Pledge Manager website where you enter your information to pay for shipping. Within, I would say, about a few days, they would give you the shipping notification that your stuff has been shipped. Now, in order to win this contest, this is what you have to do. Those that have backed and you receive your items, what you have to do here is unpack your Evermind package. Take a photo or video of yourself unpacking it. You can share some narrative audio or text about your experience. And then you got to post your photos and videos on Instagram. You have to tag 247 Comics, Sean Chen, and that Daniel Wu, and use the hashtag Evermind247 raffle. So you'll get 1 raffle ticket for the photo text post. You get 2 for the video audio text post, and 3 if your post gets more than 100 likes. So right now, people should be getting this by the weekend, is what I'm assuming, because my tracking says by the 3rd, and it's coming from somewhere in the States, not too far away. So once you get this, do this, you guys can enter to win this lovely art from Sean here.
Hey, CJ, if you want to talk bad about that unboxing, just send that package to me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You can do that. Oh, you're not going to be here? Oh, no. You mean tonight? Yes. Oh, yeah, we can get you to 100 likes, CJ. That's right. We can. We have lots of people in our Insomniac chat. But, you are always a pleasure to chat with, and you are welcome back anytime, whenever you want to come back. So next time, Eman, you can hop out and chat with him here. Yes. But yeah, so if you guys want to do this, don't forget to enter. And when you get your Kickstarter, don't forget to do all the stuff here. But this is also, let me actually link this page here because this is, where to go? This is on the 247 comic site. So let me, the Instagram. So let me paste this into here.
I would imagine what would happen is people will get their package and then just open it up and then realize that they forgot to record it. So they was kind of have to repackage it and then
Hey, I've done that before. I've done that before on unboxing streams where I had the creator on. But it's a good thing though that they said either video or photos. So if that happens, just take the photos of you, box.
I do a lot of unboxing, so I'm really careful about unboxing so that I could redo the unboxing again, so I don't destroy the boxes.
Yeah.
All right, here, let me get this up here. So yeah, so you can enter to win this if you did back the Kickstarter, so that's awesome. So check your mailbox. It should be coming out probably, I think the first wave they said, but you have to do the Pledge Manager thing first to make sure that you get it. So go check that out if you did back it and forgot. Nam here has 10 surveys that he needs to fill out his Kickstarter. You need to do that to get your stuff. So yeah, don't forget to do that. Let's see. So are you guys going to be getting back to the Tuesday stream next week? Because I know this week was a little too much rushed.
Yeah, it's all up to Bernard. Sometimes I don't really know until right up until time we're supposed to stream. That is not
Okay.
happening. But yeah, it's a lot on Bernard. He's very busy. I mean, he's on a regular monthly Marvel book, and
Oh,
he's traveling all over
yeah.
the world. So, and it's typical for a lot of these people on stream to like take the summer off,
Yeah.
and none of us want to do it. So you can see how he makes a real effort. Like we were in Morocco, and then I get a text from him. It's like, "Hey, do you want to stream today? It's Tuesday." And I think because of the 6 hour time difference, we would be streaming at 3 a.m. And then I told him that it's going to be 3 a.m. in the morning, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's not going to happen." But you can see like we are dedicated to it. So.
Oh yeah, you guys pretty much, I would say almost every Tuesday you guys are in there. And I saw in the Discord, he was like, "Oh, we forgot a Tuesday. Let's try a Wednesday stream." So yeah, hopefully you guys can figure that out. Hopefully you guys come back next week. But I like hanging there. Even sometimes if I don't post, I'm always lurking. So it's a.
Were you able to answer all the Star questions?
No, we actually have a couple more. So let me go do that real quick. Let's see. Okay. Good one from Eman. He can't make it tonight, but he's popping in some questions. In one of your Instagram posts, the Iron Man, you mentioned you like drawing flesh versus metal because it's something you understand very well. Can you elaborate? Did you study the human body?
I think drawing the man-made objects like the armor is probably easier because it does follow like rules of structure. The human body is so organic; it's much more difficult, but that's really where the fun is, because I think people just like to see people and faces and flesh. You draw armor, it's easier, but you're really just drawing like a car. You really can't get really that emotionally invested into it. So I like drawing people. I think when people are attracted to the opposite sex or whatever, it's not because of their it's because of their body, their faces, and the hair and everything. All that stuff is fun to draw for an artist to draw. And there are artists that draw transformers, and they don't hardly ever draw a human being. And I think they're kind of getting away with murder because they don't have to draw a difficult human being. But I can't imagine doing that. It is a chore to draw the robots in Evermind, just because it's such a mechanical thing. And that nuance and the expression on the faces, and even when I draw the robots, a lot of them are very humanistic robots.
Yeah.
You do such a great job about the cybernetics and like the robots, because it looks like a gorilla. It looks like the female human body. They're the women bots are very, very delicate looking, but I like that you added like all these details on the ridges of like the faces and stuff, where you would have like those connective panels and things. It's very gorgeous to see that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think they all start out, the female robots is just like drawing a female, but instead of putting like flesh and clothes on them, you just start segmenting them up and putting like bolts and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know if that would work in real life, because I think we've seen a lot of like the Boston Dynamics robots.
Those are scary.
Very stiff and very scary. So I do get to cheat it a lot. So
yeah, it's incredible what those robots can do.
Do you find the drawing patterns of repetitions pattern? I mean, you find those pre-repetitions, I guess.
You mean like the figures or the?
I'm like when things are repeating, things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the hardest things about comics. I think anyone that can draw like one image, you can make it, anything goes, because you can kind of make it up as you go along, and you make it look as good as you can in that one position. But in comics, you have to draw it again from another angle, and you draw it over and over again, sometimes like 7 times on one page, the same figure. And that becomes a chore, because it's not so much artistic, it's more of like it's like a checklist things, like, did I remember that he has 3 pouches on the left side? Yes, I did. Is the gun in the right hand? And that stuff is not the fun part of art, but the fact that you can tell a story with your artwork, that makes it all worth it. So yeah, the repetition, and it does kind of bog you down, and the fact that when you do a comic, it comes out like every month. You can be drawing the same type of artwork for over and over again, and if it weren't for the fact that you get paid money for it, I think most of us wouldn't be doing that, because as artists, we just move on to drawing something different and more fun.
Did you think of this yourself?
The this running figure thing.
Yeah, the Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Bird,
So
right?
in these running figures, there is a certain constraint. You can't do every running figure because it moves the feet, but it doesn't move the hands. So any pop culture figure that runs where the hands are occupied, I can do. Which is why you don't see a Forrest Gump one, because the hands, I don't know how to stabilize the hands. So this one worked because her feet move and her hands are occupied, and then I found a way to make these birds go up and down.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is the bird going up and down?
Yeah. So it's with the mechanism. It's easy for something to go up and down behind them. And so that means there's very few characters that you can do. So this one actually fits perfectly. It's very obscure character, but I did it because it kind of fit what the mechanism allows. And I really can't account for how popular it is, because everyone seems to like it, even though I can't imagine that many people even know who she is, because this movie's so old, and the people who come to my Instagram,
Oh,
oh my God! You
got
giving me
enough birds.
you giving me a new hobby now. Oh boy, another freaking rabbit hole to.
If you're an artist, a comic book artist on Instagram, you have a lot of competition out there. Everyone kind of does the same thing. You take the commissions and the pages you do, and you put them on your Instagram and just show a gallery. It ends up being the same type of stuff. So in order to separate myself from the pack, I put other things up there, and it does help kind of differentiate yourself from a lot of super talented artists.
Yeah, it's also super funny too.
No, these are very giggling. This takes some ingenuity, in my view. So you kind of remind me of Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah, I have always would make things, make my own toys and stuff. So like I said, for me, the art has to involve like a serious nerd component, where there has to be some like math involved and mechanisms. And I wouldn't be happy just being a guy who just draws portraits or landscapes.
Right. I actually love these.
They're awesome.
They're great. Let's see. While you're showing off more art, I got a couple more questions in.
Just to let you know, I get this message on my screen that says that my battery is running low. So if I disappear all of a sudden, it's not because I hate you guys. It's just because
oh, boo! No, you're fine. We're almost coming up to the 2-hour mark anyway, so you're just so much fun to talk to you. But yeah, so well, hey, and kudos to your internet for not crashing. What? Hey.
Yeah, I mean that's a first actually. This one usually I get the robot voice, or it doesn't work at all. So.
I know. I feel bad sometimes where you're in Bernard's streams and you're like, yeah, and you have to leave. It's amazing. But here, hold on to this page right here. So this is the bot Genesis. Spoiler. But see what I'm talking about? How delicate it is for a mech/body, but it still looks like it's got the female features, but it's so lovely. The designs that you did for this. Did you do a lot of bot designs for these characters before you finally got to the one that you wanted to use?
I guess so. I mean, it kind of designed itself. I mean, the silhouette is pure female. It's idealized female figure. And then just the places where it's open is sort of like the metal parts are a bikini, and then the exposed parts are with all the wires. You just kind of put there to make it feel kind of eerie, and kind of place them where, like you don't, like all the the erogenous zones, you want to make it look like flesh, and all the parts that don't matter, the interstitial parts, you just make those mechanical. And it's based really inspired by that Hajime Sorayama, the guy who does those Japanese robot females. So it's kind of heavily influenced by that.
Oh, lovely! It's lovely because it still has a modern take on it too. It doesn't feel like the old style of like you see like the cyborgy type bots. I like that. It's very feminine, very modern, and you did a great job on that. Also, it works for the underworld with the stripper.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like I think one of the things in this story is that this futuristic Disneyland needed to make more money. They have these robots that play the princesses above ground in the theme park, but after hours they work around the clock. They just go downstairs and they would have a strip club down there. So the same princesses, and it's just so wrong. Like when we came up with the idea, it's like, well, we gotta do that because it's just so wrong. Because like mistakes are gonna happen, and then like one of those princesses above ground are gonna start twerking in front of the kids. And something.
It's a very perverted, and I like it.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. See, he wants a statue of it. That would be awesome. Maybe get a branch out to a toy line eventually.
Yeah. Or, we were thinking like if this goes over really well, it'd be like a real landmark to see the first cosplay, like someone like cosplaying.
Oh my God.
I would be honored because then I would feel like I really created like a character, like instead of something just that's my own story that's in my head or in my sketchbook. It actually went out there and someone took the time to cosplay it. That would be like really, like a watermark for success, right? Like a landmark for success.
Yeah.
I would like you to figure out how to have that gorilla,
Yes.
and have running figure of gorilla. Bobo his daughter on the back.
And
that would be cute.
Another cool idea is that robot plays sort of like their Mickey Mouse, like this big dumb gorilla above ground as a fun character, but then down below they take the costume off them and they do like battle bots.
Yeah.
So,
there's all kinds of stuff happening in the underworld. But so if you guys so what the underworld / the Disney princess thing reminds me of in Final Fantasy VII when they get to that casino town and like all the shenanigans is happening, but I adore like the lights and stuff that's happening, but it gives me those kind of feels.
I have to check that out. Yeah, I'm not up on Final Fantasy, but
yeah, it was from the 90s, but they just did the remakes for it like right now. But if you go in it gives me those like, oh, everything's great, it's lovely, like, and then there's all kinds of horrible stuff and you get thrown in prison at one point, but yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, let's see. Yes, you can you should keep those to yourself. Oh, he's saying Robo Lady gives him 2080 vibes.
Yeah,
that works.
I think one of the things about this story is that everyone says it reminds them of something, but everything that it reminds them of is different for each person. So yeah. I think it was important to me that this is like an original story, because sometimes you see a story and it's like, oh, this is pure, Westworld. It's just a bad copy of Westworld. People say this is like Westworld, but they also say it's like a dozen other things. So the fact that you can't pin it down to one thing, that does make me feel good. Is that it's like a lot of things, but not.
Yeah, I don't think I could pin it down to one thing. I pin it down to the Westworld, the Jurassic Park.
Yes.
I read a book called The Other Land. I mean, the real what was that? That Real Player One.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
In Matrix. I mean, just a whole bunch of different things, That involves the technology and how technology can be used for evil and stuff. I mean, yeah, it has just tons and tons of genre and tons of different themes in there. So I don't think people can narrow it down to one thing.
Yeah, but it's its own unique thing too, which is awesome because it does remind you of those kind of elements, but it is so unique that there's so much happening in the story that it's all just your story. So it shines that way, and I like that. And I like that it has like the family aspect to it. It has like the is this right or is this wrong thing? Is this like, science, technology? It's got war stuff happening. It's got a lot of stuff happening, but it's got a lot of awesome themes in it that are really good. And it's really good to see the relationship between the father and the daughter evolve from like how they first start to like where it ends in chapter 3. It's so much cool. It's really cool to see that. So it's a lot of sacrifice happening in here as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, I love that father has no thoughts about transferring himself into. Oh.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen, but
Poor Sean. Well, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark anyways, but let me make sure I dropped all the links in chat. And there's a couple of questions left in there, but he pretty much answered all of these in here. So
we should have probably stopped it a little earlier.
I'm glad that he lasted as long as he did, because he normally ends up with his internet.
Let's virtually thank Sean for his time. It was a great interview, and we loved having him on. Hopefully, we'll get him on again at some point.
He's super nice. I love his work. Okay, so if you guys are in the Forest Hill area, I believe it's June 2nd. He will be at the Forest Hill High School Comic-Con. It's just a half-a-day event, so go check it out for there. If you did back the Kickstarter and you get it in the mail, make sure you go and do the giveaway thing so you can win his original art. Tuesdays, follow the Bernard Chang Twitch stream. It's also on YouTube, but if you want to win anything or really get involved in chat, the chat is on Twitch. Go. It's a lovely chat. That's why I met half the people in this thing already. Let's see for Sean. And check that out. Tomorrow. Holy crap. Double header tomorrow. What is it? 6 p.m. Pacific time? John Jang. And then coming up at 8 p.m. Pacific time, we have Bernard Chang. So we have the Jang Chang Gang stream. Let's go. What?
And then 31st, all these giveaways, duck race. Remember that.
We still have to figure out a time that we're actually going live for that. But
we're going to talk about this right after this, guys.
Oh, perfect. All right. So, yes, come watch us on the 31st. Come watch us both times tomorrow. And boom. Yeah, amazing.
Thanks, Chad. Thank you, Chad. In streaming.